Here in the high plains of the United States, you will find one of nature's most amazing but feared natural phenomenons. Supercell thunderstorms that are capable of producing tornadoes. That's right, we're storm chasing in Tornado Alley in hopes of photographing these beautiful but sometimes deadly storms. I'm your host, Doug Gardner, and the wild photo adventure starts now. Hey Brian, it's good to meet you.
Good to meet you, Doug.
Great, man. I tell you what, when I left home, people said, you're crazy for going storm chasing. I'm a little apprehensive about this, so I'm glad I'm in good hands with you. What got you into it?
Well, when I was a child, I grew up in Oklahoma, and of course Oklahoma is famous. It's a land of where supercells rule.
Right.
And my father was a storm spotter and became a storm chaser. And we had a lot of different events through my childhood, so once I kind of matured to the point where I could drive, that was a whole new era for me. And I went into the Air Force and got some formal weather training, came out of that, worked in the TV market for a while, and eventually ended up running storm tours.
Awesome. So you take people all up and down Tornado Alley, chasing storms with the hopes of, I guess, seeing tornadoes.
Yeah, we travel about 500 miles a day. We have people from all over the world that come in. Some people come in for different reasons, you know, some for photography reasons, some people just want to experience the weather. And we work with a whole different group from week to week.
Now you do photography as well as videography, correct?
Right. I started out in photography and then got into the video through some college training and things, and then worked in the TV market for a while. But I'm slowly kind of weaning out the video and getting back into still photography, going back to the roots.
Well, that's great. I tell you, looks like we got a pretty nasty storm brewing around us. Think we might be able to start this afternoon?
Yeah, absolutely. We've already got updrafts developing. We've seen some lightning, so I think we're going to have a good chase today.
Let's do it. Let's get started.
All right. Kind of watching the storm before it really intensifies, and we just heard a severe thunderstorm warning on this thing out of the Pueblo, Colorado office. We have time to, kind of get out and kind of take some good scenic shots and use a tripod. But, when we're in the thick of things and this thing really ramps up, we're going to be kind of hopping ahead of it. So I try to stay where I can get a really good tight shot of this business end back here. And so a lot of times I'm out, I'm trying to use like a lens that's got a low f-stop on it, a fast shutter speed, try to get as much light into the camera as I possibly can, but you often don't have the time to set up a tripod. So it's maybe a good time to try to look for fence posts or something that maybe just even have a monopod where you just get a quick stick in the ground just to kind of help balance your shot a little bit.
Just the supercells are really magnificent. As you can hear the wind picking up now, it's getting a little bit closer. But this storm's got a lot of work to do yet. When I'm composing these shots, I like to try to include some of the agricultural fields in my foreground, but just a little bit. The main part of your shot is going to be these clouds and the storms, and the way the clouds kind of arch up above you, you can get some really dramatic shots with wide-angle lenses. Every few minutes, the storm shapes change completely and you get completely different shots. The colors change, the textures change, and the outside edge of the formations change.
One of the things I like to do quite a bit when I'm shooting a storm like this, where you have a really bright region, below the updraft, you have a darkened storm above it. So you got to be real careful about just blowing out the whole entire background. So I'll try to find something like this precipitation that's more of a neutral gray, and exposure lock on that, and then come back in and shoot back in towards the light. And you'll get a really good balance.
I see how you could easily mess up as far as not thinking through your exposures and thinking through your shots, regardless of what the situation is.
Yeah, and sometimes, if a tornado forms, sometimes they only last a few seconds. So it's one of those things where you really have to stay calm and you have to keep your composure and you have to like really think about what you're doing when you're taking the shot. My general rule is that when we start to feel the winds coming from that direction and you know, it's got that cooler air, then it's time to generally try to get a little further away. Because I mean, right above us is where all the business is going to happen. And so we're basically losing our vantage angle on the storm.
Right.
Instead of seeing good structure, we're seeing things up above us, and it's really hard to get, you know, definition out of that. It's amazing to sit here and look at the stuff moving around over the top of us.
Oh yeah.
But it doesn't make for a great photograph.
Well, the storm's, we're almost directly underneath it. Do we need to reposition?
Yeah, we do. It's got a lot of motion in it, and it's one of those things that's easiest seen when you are underneath it, but this really isn't probably the safest place to be. You know, not so much for tornadic possibilities at the moment, because she still has a little bit of work to do, but there's a definite lightning hazard here.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad you're taller than I am.
Let's get out of here.
All right, man.
As long as I stay low. Now you're taller than me. Well, I don't know if we're gonna be able to get in front of this or not, Brian. She's moving pretty fast.
Yeah, it's moving at 45, but typically, you know, that's what we want to do is to try to stay on the southeast side of this. So as it's moving to the northeast, we're just going to keep trying to go east. So typically we should stay on the southeast side of it. If the storm's going to the northeast, then if you're on the southeast side, you know, common sense says if there's a tornado, it's going to be moving with the storm.
Right.
So that way you have a good shot, you got the sun on the western sky, so you have contrast shooting back into it as well. You know, if someone's new to the idea of storm chasing, and especially if it sounds scary or if they don't feel like they're completely confident in their ability to do it, you know, just find a local storm chaser, somebody that's got a little bit of experience, that knows maybe more about what's going to happen out on the road.
This is really cool, and I think other people really ought to get out and enjoy this type of thing. A lot of times people see storm, oh my gosh, they run, you know, and really, I mean, it's beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen, actually. Yeah. And we hadn't even seen a tornado yet.
Yeah, one of the neat things is that no two storms are ever the same. So, I mean, you see the basic structure of the storm, but they all look a little bit different.
Let's get out and watch this thing, see what she's gonna do. Brian, I don't think she's gonna do anything. Looks like weakening up on us.
Yeah, she's kind of falling apart. So I think what we probably best do at this point is just, it's been a long day. Let's go in and find some food somewhere and start looking for options for the night, and we'll take a look at the forecasting models and kind of make a decision whether we're going to do a little more driving to try to get set up for tomorrow or the day after and see what's going to happen.
All right, well, tomorrow's another day.
Another day, another mile, another town.
Another chase. What an amazing day. Unbelievable. And we still got quite a show. I mean, the sun's down, the sails are moving on past us. If a tornado was on the ground, we wouldn't be able to see it anyway at this point. Boy, Brian, this is some beautiful shots of lightning.
Yeah, this is always kind of the nice thing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You're right behind the storm and you got a dying cell and it get a lot of lightning out of it, so.
Yeah, this is pretty neat. And you know, people think lightning shots are really hard to get. They're like, how'd you get that? How'd you trip that shutter just at the right moment? Well, we're going to tell you a little secret. It's not really that hard. Most SLR cameras that have any kind of manual modes to them have what's called a bulb setting. And you set the camera to bulb setting and run your f-stop up between f8 and f22, depending on how bright and intense the lightning is. And then you want to use a wide angle lens and set the lens markings, the footage markings, to infinity.
Right. And
that will give you everything from right in front of you to infinity in sharp focus, because when it's dark like this, you can't see anything to photograph it, and when the lightning strikes, you know, it's so brief, you're never going to get it in focus. So you set that lens to the infinity mark and everything will be in sharp focus. Then you can either use a timer release and hold the button down for as long as you want and release it, and what it'll do is ever how many lightning strikes strike while you have the shutter open, that's how many will register in the frame.
Right.
I use a cable release that's got a lock on it, so when I mash the button, it's open, the shutter is open, and now every lightning strike that happens in my frame will record in one image. So if you want one lightning bolt, you wait on one lightning bolt to strike. If you want 15 lightning bolts to strike, just leave it open until all of them finish striking. It's a really fun thing to do. It's really easy to do. People, make it a lot harder than it really is. One of the neat things we've got going on here is we've got a little city, a little town in the background, and got some street lights. I don't really care for the street lights, but I love what it does to the clouds.
Well, it adds a horizon to the entire photo. So when you do get a bright flash, it's all highlights.
Right.
So you let the lightning do the work for you, but those lights on the horizon just kind of give you that bottom 1/3.
Right. One thing I also like to do, I still like to try to get something in my foreground. Here, it's all open, flat country. We have nothing to frame in the foreground. But if you had a nice tree that had a nice shape to it, watch the lightning, watch it flash a couple times, and you'll see it kind of light up the silhouette of the tree. So just kind of keep looking through your camera until you can position that tree in 1/3 of your frame. Then you can get some really magnificent things. You can have the shape of the tree, you can have the lightning bolts, and then you'll get that glow coming up on the bottom side of all of these clouds, which is really nice. Ooh, there's a nice lightning strike right behind you.
It's always behind us.
It's always behind you. And that's also very important to know. When you're looking at a storm cell that's producing a lot of lightning, watch how it's moving and position your camera in front of that and let the cell move through. You can tell the lightning's striking hard here, then it's here, and then it's here. So I want to put my camera in front of the movement so the cell and the lightning strikes move through the frame. That way you don't miss anything. But this is really nice. I tell you, we chased the storm at over 500 miles today.
From Colby, Kansas to north central Iowa. So yeah, it was quite a drive.
Yeah, and even though we had it was a beautiful storm, and it was pretty exciting. But you know what? This is nice too, and we're gonna sit here and enjoy this. And tonight, go to a hotel, try to look at the models for the storms, and try to come up with a game plan for tomorrow and continue chasing. Storm chasing, you're in a different hotel every night. Get up the next morning, check your forecast, start the chase to possibly a whole nother state, work the storm, find your hotel there, get up the next morning, starts all over again.
All right, here we go.
The National Weather Service has issued a tornado warning.
Now this is the cell that we're going to intercept, and we're here. So it's moving to the northeast, but the cell's going to come right into us.
All right, we've been tornado warned, and this is the cell right here. It's moving toward us rapidly. It's a very impressive looking cell on the radar. It's a waiting game at this point. We have to be ready to move. We got to stay in front of the storm at all times. And just take advantage of getting some handheld shots. I'm using 60th of a second with a wide angle lens and shooting 5.6 and f8. That way I don't have to sacrifice my shutter speed, because we are blowing around. We got wheat blowing around. Obviously it's raining, and you want to keep a rag handy at all times, because you're going to get your equipment wet. That's just part of it. Keep your lens clean and dry. It's easy to get caught up in this, so you got to keep in mind everything that you need to know about photography. F-stop, shutter speed, lens selection.
I think there's one on the ground on the back side of the wall.
You got one on the ground?
I think so.
Go to the truck.
She's gonna hose. Let's go over to this concrete highway, because it's coming east, and I want to be like right in line with it.
The National Weather Service in Topeka has issued a tornado warning for northern Cloud County, southern Republic County until 8 p.m.
This is amazing.
This is amazing. It's absolutely beautiful. I think people really overlook the beauty of a storm. Is it dangerous? Yeah, it's very dangerous. But, you know, in the hands of an experienced storm chaser, you can do this fairly safely and really have an amazing experience. You're thinking if she drops a tornado, it's going to be right up here on this side?
Well, there's a couple of funnels that it just produced a little bit ago, and they dissipated just about as fast as they formed.
The thing about trying to photograph these supercells and tornadoes, you never know where they're going to hit. Are you going to get a ton of beautiful pictures? Probably not. But when it happens and you don't have anything in your way and the lighting's right and the storm is right, you really come away with something amazing. Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's not it. One coming down right there?
That is a funnel. It's done it a few times.
Come on, baby, come on. You can do it.
Yeah, she's working. Now she's close enough that we can see the entire base of this thing really well. And she's almost right above her head, so if she was to hose now, we'd have a great shot with a 17mm lens.
Wow.
But if she doesn't hose pretty quickly, then we're gonna have to reposition and pick a new spot with a good escape route if we need it. The cell's moving east at 20, and we're east of it, so it's coming pretty much directly at us.
You gotta do anything you can to try to stabilize your camera. It's just too risky to try to use a tripod right now. Tornado could form right here within feet of us. Just a little something to stabilize your shot. Because now I can shoot 30th of a second, whereas before I was having to shoot 60th of a second. Come on, baby, do it, do it. Since I'm using a wide angle lens, I'm setting my lens on the infinity mark, letting it rip.
Gentlemen, I think it's about time we set up somewhere else.
All right, let's go.
Keep an eye on it. She's ready to go. See this? Look at this up here. Look at that.
I know.
She's ready to hose. So we don't want to be under it when it does. She's like right here.
Jamestown?
6 miles east. She's like right there.
We're gonna try to hit a paved road.
We're gonna come down here.
Okay.
And right now we're just a little bit to the north-northeast, so we're just gonna shoot down about 5 or 6 miles. They just put another warning out.
This storm has a history of producing tornadoes. Take cover in a basement or storm shelter now and protect yourself from flying debris.
We jumped in the van, ran southeast, 6 more miles. We got in front of the storm. We're far enough away now that we can use tripods. She still hadn't dropped a tornado yet, but you can hear the tornado sirens going off in the background. And now with the tripods, we can get the ISOs back down and get our shutter speeds down and f-stops back up. She's wanting to pop, isn't she?
Oh, she is. She's spinning like a top. And we're in a pretty safe position here too, because the storm's moving to the east and we're south of it.
Okay.
So we're looking back into the north. There's another funnel, lightning on the sides of it.
It's a waiting game. Look at all that motion right there, Brian. That's the most I've seen yet.
She just gets close and then
Just gives up.
you can still hear the tornado sirens going off in Concordia too.
You know, we've driven all day long chasing this storm, and it comes down to the last minute.
If this were to hose right now, we'd be shooting gray against gray.
Right.
There wouldn't be very much detail or definition in it.
I think a lot of previous TV shows have put a false idea of what storm chasing is all about in people's minds. You know, it's not go storm chasing and every day, tornadoes, tornadoes, tornadoes. And of course, like you told me, some days you do have good days and you see multiple tornadoes, but
Right.
would you say that's not the norm?
Oh, definitely not the norm. Yeah, there's a lot of driving and a lot of second guessing yourself and second guessing the weather and trying to just be in the right place at the right time.
You have done an amazing job of getting us on supercells that, you know, are ready to pop any minute. But like I said, they got a mind of their own.
Yeah, this thing it's been tornado warned now for about a little over an hour. And she's just really trying, but you know, it's just one of those days when maybe not everything's just going to come together quite right.
This has been amazing. Absolutely amazing.
It's easy to see why you get addicted to this.
Yeah.
All right, well, the roads are throwing a trick at us, so let me figure out. Let's go play.
Has issued a tornado warning for
Wow, that's incredible structure on this thing.
Whoa, that's a big hail.
Yeah, it's similar to golf ball size. All right, I think we're gonna climb up here, hit this highway, then come down, follow in behind it, and try to get ahead of it.
It's getting pretty rough looking back over there.
Yeah, I'll warn you now, it's gonna get nasty. I mean, really nasty.
We're going through that?
Yeah, once we punch to the core of the storm, it should be sunny, and that's where I expect to find a tornado.
I can't see a thing, Brian.
Look hard. She's hosed. It's here somewhere.
This is a serious game of cat and mouse, isn't it?
It is. Chances are there's a tornado right there. Yeah, this is active. This is hugely active. Oh my gosh, look behind us.
Where'd that come from? Pull over, pull over.
No, it's too close. I think it's going to cross the road behind us. If we can get around this next north-south road, we'll have a much better angle on the sun. You got 30 seconds to get a shot, Doug. No tripods. Come on, Doug, we gotta go if we're gonna stay in front of it.
Go, Brian, go, go.
Keep an eye on it because it might fizzle out before we get repositioned.
Wow, just that quick, it's gone. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, but this storm's still very tornadic, Doug, because that storm's pushing away from us and we're on the rear flank downdraft. So that hail core is being wrapped around that base of the supercell. So it's still tornadic, we need to stay on it.
All right, let's keep chasing. Wow, what an amazing week this has been. Chasing storms here in Tornado Alley, and I'm privileged to have experienced it with one of the country's best storm chasers, Brian Barnes. Remember, it's not just about the photograph, it's the outdoor experience. I'm your host, Doug Gardner, and thank you for joining me on another Wild Photo Adventures.
Mastering photography takes persistence and practice. Stay with it and look forward to future installments of the Ultimate Photo Guide Digital Photography Series.
This is a special formula, Doug, that I come up with back a few years ago that I mix up for the birds, and they seem to really like it. A lot of your woodpeckers, your titmouse, cardinals, all actually come in, most of your songbirds, and eat this mixture.
Now, is that what some people call suet?
It is a type of suet. It's not made out of the beef fat or anything like that. We do use some shortening or lard depending on the time of the year. The lard works good in the wintertime when it's real cold, but in the summertime we don't want to use, or when the weather starts warming up, the lard. Shortening works much better during that period of time, but there's a lot of other ingredients in there.
And you're not going to share those ingredients with us?
Well, special people I might. We also take and feed mealworms, and a lot of the birds like the mealworms. It gives them some more additional protein. I buy these about 20,000 at a time, about every 2 to 3 weeks, especially when the birds are feeding heavy on them. And during the winter, and of course, once you start feeding the birds, you got to feed them year round. Mm-hmm. You don't want to cut their feed off, even though during the summertime and early fall, when there's a lot of insects and seeds, they may not come to the feeders quite as often, but most of them get used to it, and they'll check by several times a day to see what's out.
Now, it's early spring right now, and we have birds with babies. Though I noticed they were coming and hitting those worms pretty hard. I guess they're taking them back to the nest?
They'll take this and the special mixture back to the nest and feed the babies, and then once the babies come off of the nest, they'll bring them to the habitat, and we're able to photograph them actually feeding the babies right here in the photographing area.
Awesome, awesome. Now, how big an area do you have here? I mean, what we're looking at?
Well, this is a smaller area where we've got the blind set up where people can photograph both out of the front of the blind and out of the back of the blind, and we continually change it and try to improve it. I have several different perches that I get out in the woods to make everything look natural.
Yeah, I see you've got all these natural looking logs with the natural cavities.
Cavities. And so we try to hide the food so everything looks natural.
This is a magnificent place. Now, you can handle how many photographers at a time?
I normally try to limit it at about 6 at a time. We have had 7 or 8, but 6 is a good number. That gives me 3 out the back, 3 out the front. Plus we have 3.5 acres here developed that's on the National Wildlife Habitat. There's a wildlife preserve. And we photograph a lot of the butterflies, insects, and some of the nesting birds down in the other habitats where we've got the trails and paths. Here comes the Carolina wren in. Over here to your right, just come in a pine warbler, and that little cedar there.
This is an absolutely wonderful place. How did you get this place to be what it is today?
Well, a few years back, I decided that people wouldn't realize what was in their backyard that was actually available to them to photograph. So I decided I wanted to try to develop some areas. So I actually, this building that we're sitting in now was actually the shed that I kept the tractors in and the mowers and that type of thing. So I started off with just a small pond out here because all wildlife need at least 3 essential things. They need food, they need water, and they need habitat, just like you and I need all of those 3 things. So we started developing, putting in the water, because we didn't have the water available to them except for the pond or the lake that's down in the rest of it.
This is a pump.
This is a pump, man-made. And I've only built this one about 9 different times to get it like I wanted.
I remember you saying it's been a problem.
It's been a problem, but I wanted it to look as natural as possible.
Nice painted bunny right there. Sorry.
Yep. So that when the birds come to drink and take their bath, that it'll look like just a natural stream.
You certainly achieved that. I mean, it looks like it's a natural stream, I tell you.
And from there, we actually started going out into the woods and bringing in a lot of other natural material for the birds and all to land on in different perches so that they look like they're out in the actual real world.
Dead logs, just dead logs.
Dead log trees. And we started planting things that was strictly for the birds, butterflies, and insects, because they're going to need that.
This place is unbelievable. You got hundreds of songbirds here. I think you told me over 35 different species, and I mean, I can't believe how close we are to them. They're within 15 feet of us. I mean, the cameraman's got them sitting all around his head right now.
That's right. And what we're doing, I've got mannequins that I set up that actually stay down here 24 hours a day so they get used to people. The other thing is we're out here constantly. A lot of the birds have got used to me and used to seeing people. And just the fact of us sitting here, or myself down here with the flash, it doesn't bother them to be using flash because they're used to the light changing and that type of thing for a little fill-in. So they get, they're not tamed, they're completely wild birds.
They're just acclimated to you.
But they're used to people, just like birds get a lot of times in some of the public parks that you go to. I use flash all the time on the birds to actually fill in, even the bright sunlight, but I'll dial the flash down to where it's on at least -2 to -3. And also we use the Walt Anderson's Better Beamers that projects the flash out farther than it was originally designed for. Now we're able to still pop a little light in there, give it a little glint in the eye, especially if you're in a shady area, or light them up a little bit to where they look very natural in the scene, just like they were in the sunlight.
I know some people have asked me questions about field flash, and for some people it's really confusing. They don't understand it, and basically all you're doing is adding a little bit less light than the ambient light that's available.
Now, we don't use this on all subjects. Right. We do use it on the birds, and I will teach people how to use it even when we do butterflies and insects.
Right.
But
that's your chipmunk out here.
Yep.
Not only do you have birds, you got chipmunks.
Chipmunks, and also the hairy and the downy woodpeckers have just come in.
When I first started using flash, I thought I was going to get a very unnatural look, but you've dialed it down so low, you know, half a stop to a full stop under, that it looks really natural. I mean, all you're doing is really kind of open up the shadow areas a little bit, so it's not such a dramatic shadow.
Just got the white-throated sparrow that just popped up there, the male with that nice yellow on his crown.
Now, you've had people as far away as Sweden come and shoot with you.
Sweden, I have people from all over the United States and Europe that come here actually to photograph. They call me, they'd like for me to do it even more often than I'm doing it, but and I have a lot of other professional photographers that come here. I've had
just as for access,
for
not
access.
necessarily for instruction.
Well, some are starting to bring some groups.
Okay.
Okay. They found out what an area this is to be able to photograph, just like you.
This is unbelievable.
You found out, and a lot of people are amazed that they can get this close. I've had people with actually a 50mm lens that I've actually put close enough that they could photograph the bird. And I'm fixing to get this male bluebird. I got him.
Well, he's
hey, there's a female coming
Yep.
down with him.
Those are nice against the azaleas,
That's
pink
right.
azaleas.
Pink azaleas there.
Has he bringing the babies out this year?
The one thing that, not yet, the babies are, I've got a pair of bluebirds nesting now that are starting to feed some young babies, it looks like, because they're coming and picking up the mealworms and the special suet and taking it back to the nest. One of the things that's really nice is they'll bring the woodpeckers and the wrens and the bluebirds and all, when their babies hatch, then they introduce them to this area. And sometimes we can get some really nice shots of them actually feeding the babies, or even when the males are courting the females before they start raising the babies, you'll get some interaction of them courting out here also.
I mean, I don't know anywhere else that you can get this kind of behavior, natural behavior.
Natural behavior.
I mean, right here in your own backyard.
That's right. People don't realize how pretty those birds are because their feathers are actually iridescent, and they got purples and greens and different colors.
I told myself I'd never shoot another crow or grackle. I've got so many photos of those. But you know, the scene is always different, so you got to shoot
right.
it. You never know what you're gonna come out with.
Yeah.
People that want to try to get some birds attracted to their backyard, what would you recommend for somebody trying to set up bird feeders or whatever, just on a much smaller scale, of course?
Well, the one thing they need to do is, of course, get the feeders out, like next to some trees or some habitats where the bird's going to be coming in too. When I first started photographing the birds here at the house, I actually shot out of one of the bedroom windows. Till I set up a habitat out there, and I could sit in the house when it was real cold outside, and I would be comfortable and still shooting birds, you know.
That's cheating.
That's cheating.
You got to rough.
Now I have to come out here and set the heaters up inside the blind. But the main thing is, once they start feeding the birds, they need to keep the feed out there. And a lot of times what I have to do too is empty those feeders, because the powder or ground up meal will get down there, and after a rainy period it may cake up, grow mold, and you don't want to make the birds sick. So I actually will change some of my feeders out, and I'll wash them in a solution of soap and Clorox, that type of thing, and clean them and dry them out real good so that they stay clean. They need to buy a good premium blend.
Sunflower, black oil.
I like the black oil. Some people will feed also some of the striped sunflowers, but the black oil, all of the birds like those. I actually feed what's known as a woodpecker mix, which is nuts and berries and different things a lot of the other birds like. So a variety of food will bring in different types of birds.
You've got that chipmunk. I can't get enough of that cute little chipmunk.
I know. He can't get but 42 peanuts in his mouth at one time.
He's a cute fella, man.
And we got frogs now in the pond.
Yeah, I hear them.
They're starting to beep, so we can photograph them too.
So the maintenance on this thing is just unbelievable.
Maintenance, I spend probably $2,000 to $3,000 minimum a year on just food to keep the birds in here.
Wow. That's not even counting the plants.
That's not counting the plants and all of the stuff that we've done here. That's not counting cleaning the pond out several times a year and refilling it back up to keep the leaves and stuff out of it. So it's not a cheap adventure, but it is an enjoyable adventure. But you don't have to go to this scale to have the birds. You can have a nice bird bath for the birds to bathe in with the food nearby, very similar to the setup that we've got up there. And there comes the titmouses in. And there's a gray catbird, or cowbird, excuse me.
Now I know you let professional photographers come in, or people that don't necessarily need instruction come in and just shoot in the garden, but you also offer full instruction too, right? For workshops?
We can offer instruction. What we do is, like the gentleman that was here this weekend, he's just getting started in photography. So I work with him more than I did some of the others that do, but what we end up doing is anybody that needs help, I offer that instruction, help them with their camera equipment, or learn them how to use a different function on the camera or set their flash up properly. And then we check their histograms to make sure if they're shooting digitally. I still have some people that shoot film that come here. And
good old film.
Good old film. I can't fault them for shooting that.
Yeah.
And we just make sure that they have a good time and they go away and they learn some of the things. If they have any questions that come up, we try to answer them and help them. So we want them to go away having a good time, enjoying themselves while they've been here, and learn something and get some good photographs while they're here.
Man, fantastic. Great shots.
Gary and Janice treat us like family. There's no other place that we've been where you can shoot songbirds like this. They're very close, they're very acclimated to people, they're not afraid of us. And Gary's just a great guy. If you need to get some help even after you leave, you can send him an email or call him on the phone. He's more than happy to drop what he's doing and help you out. And other people we've tried to get help from are not anywhere near as helpful. Gary will send you a 2 or 3 page email well, he did to help me shoot the hummingbird nest I was trying to shoot. And the answers I got from other people were just to check their books. And my wife and I have been here 7 times, and we'll keep coming back every year because there's always something new. There's always something new to learn.
Eli, you may want to set your flash to about -2 down here, so you can balance the light.
I screwed it up. There you go.
Now our subject's fixing to come back in.
Okay.
What shutter speed you got?
5.6 and 200.
200? 200 second ought to stop the motion. Okay, the chickadees come into your right over there now, so maybe it'll be coming back into the box. Those Carolina chickadees are pretty brave little birds anyway. Okay, let's check your histogram now and see how it looks. Coming back. Okay, Eli, it's on the fence now.
Okay.
All right, now be ready when he pops out.
Okay.
Okay, check your histogram down, make sure it's okay. Make sure we're not overexposing anything. That looks good. It's not too far over to the right, not blown out. All right, chickadee now is back on the fence, so get ready to photograph him again.
Gary, there's a lot of deer trails up in here too. This is right here behind your house.
Yeah, we've got right many deer moving in, and as well as some other wildlife like coyotes and turkeys that are starting to move in also. But I do have something I want to show you that's kind of unique to this area in this bottomland right here. We found where there's several patches of jack in the pulpits,
Really?
and which is a little unusual.
I'd love to photograph some of those.
And right in here is one of the patches right next to this old stream that goes down through the woods. And you can see that these are just now starting to come up. We've got some here that are red just coming
So
up.
just the red shoot is the beginning of it.
Just the beginning. And but you have to watch out also for poison oak that sometimes gets mixed in with it. And the jacks here, some of them are just starting to put out some of the shoots, like this one right here that will be turning into one of the jack in the
Now
pulpits.
we're talking, what, a few days, a couple of weeks before they fully mature?
It's a good possibility the length of that one, and it may even be open by tomorrow
Oh,
if
really?
this weather stays warm. We've had such a cool, unusual spring.
When you come up here to Gary's to photograph the songbirds, don't just pack those long lenses. Be sure to bring some small stuff too. Everything from wide angle to macro. Because when you leave his songbird gardens, back behind the gardens, you have this beautiful expanse of hardwoods back here. We've got everything from jack in the pulpit, plants growing wild, to red stem ferns. This is a wonderful specimen right here. They just had some rain recently, so the ferns are really starting to come out. It's early spring, and these make some magnificent photographs, especially in the morning. If you can catch them with a little bit of dew on the fern leaves, man, make some fantastic shots. I'm actually going to shoot this with a 17-35. Now, this makes a really nice perspective. It's kind of a larger than life perspective. It kind of stretches the fern. You get that wide angle stretch from one corner of the lens to the other corner. And it really seems to pronounce the length and the width of this fern blade here. Yeah, this is good stuff. Great. I'm heading back to the garden. I hope you've enjoyed the show and learned a little more about photographing songbirds. Remember folks, share your photographs with others and introduce a friend to the great outdoors. I'm Doug Gardner for Wild Photo Adventures.
Mastering photography takes persistence and practice. Stay with it and look forward to future installments of the Ultimate Photo Guide Digital Photography Series.